Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good day wherever they are. Like I say in all my videos, I'm not responsible if anybody gets hurt. And sometimes I swear. Today, I'm going to be talking about how I feel that Michelle Reiner, mostly Rob Reiner, enabled Nick, and that's what happened that caused their untimely death when they should have, aged, like someone said. And this is my thoughts about them enabling, because I think if they didn't, they would still be with us today. I think you have to sit down the law. You have to put boundaries. It's like they had, like Roner and Michelle had the umbilical cord still around them when it came to them. They didn't before they passed away, when there was that fight that they had. Excuse me. Um, they brought him with them to the party. I'm thinking that is a terrible idea. They were afraid, I guess, that he would trash the house or the guest house, and so so and do drugs and do God knows what. So they said, okay, we're gonna bring it. And then he probably was on drugs and meth and whatever he could get. And someone said, the Love Boat guy said that he probably was crashing. Going down the drugs, and he acted really crazy, asking people for their names and are you an actor, and making people very uncomfortable. And then Rob's finally said, stop acting like this, and he got pissed off, so he went out, left. And then what happened, he killed his parents. Allegedly he killed his parents, and they still haven't found the knife. And I'm thinking, why, sometimes tough love is good. A lot of people say, oh, what is it called, something that spoiled the child, the rod spoiled the child, or whatever it is. You have to put boundaries. They didn't do enough boundaries. That's the downfall. I know people say that's being cruel because they passed away and stuff, and you shouldn't say bad things about people who passed away. But I don't think they would have been not around if they set boundaries, like knowing where the money came from. They gave him a $10,000 allowance each month. I'm thinking he's a grown man. If they were going to do an allowance, they should have put down some rules on paying some rent, paying for groceries. They enabled him. They let him live there. He didn't have to pay rent. He didn't have to pay for food. He didn't have to pay for anything. They enabled him, and that's not a good way to have your kid grow up and be entitled. He became a narcissistic. I think he was always a bad seed, because I saw videos, the way his eyes are, like Michael Myers from Halloween with the eyes. It creeped me out. I'm a very I think I have some empathic traits. We all do, some to some point, some more of us than others. It depends on our personality. Anyway, I feel like he took advantage of his parents. The mother tried to smart it. She probably knew what he was doing, and Rob to some point, but he wasn't tough enough. He didn't sit down the law and say, hey, you have to be in at home at a certain time. Even though he was an adult, he was underneath the roof, so to speak, in the sense of gas out. They could have set out rules and boundaries, saying you have to get home at a certain time. If you don't like it, leave. If you don't like the rules we set here, where you have to pay for groceries, you have to pay for food, and be respectful and not trash the thing, then gone. And also, they should have never let him have credit cards, pay for his credit cards. That is so stupid, in my opinion. They should have not had him have credit cards, because you would find out what the credit cards, and then they should have asked him what he was paying the cash for. And couldn't they say he was on drugs? Come on. They should have cut the $10,000 off his drug habit and not let him do it. They wouldn't. He was more enabling than her. She was trying to stop it, and she had her hands, and she threw her hands and said, "You deal with it." And he was on a drug bender, and his father sat with him. Some people think that was a good idea. That, because he did drugs in the 60s. I know a lot of people do, but he wasn't like his son, and he was always like this. He was, always a little entitled brat. So, and yeah, they enabled him. I think if they should have, the first time he refused to go to drug treatment, he would say, if you don't gonna do it, you have to get a job. After you have to get a job, and if you refuse to get a job and you don't want to do treatment, you're out of the house. They wouldn't cut ties. Sorry, my nose runs because I have allergies. Yeah, they should have cut the umbilical cord a long time ago, saying enough is enough. You shouldn't be able to pay for use cash. They should have done that. And I don't know why. Also, why their brother and sister didn't say anything, like say, "Oh, Mom, Dad, why are you enabling him and giving him money and stuff?" And and I saw a thing where he was being very disrespectful at a Thanksgiving, where they asked, how you ask for things you're grateful. He would say, I'm not grateful for anything. These people are freeloaders. Look who's talking. What a kind of black. He's the one who's a freeloader. He did drugs, and his parents didn't cut him off for the money, which I don't understand why they would. Some people want to be your friends. Your parents can be, maybe they can be your friends to some point, but you have to have boundaries. You have to say no. It's like Veruca Salt. What happened to her? She went down the garbage chute because her father never said no. If you don't ever say no and put boundaries, this is a sad thing that turned out. These people got killed because maybe a couple times they said no and he didn't like it, and he was acting like a child throwing a tantrum, so he didn't like him. Maybe I'm thinking that they had enough of him, and maybe they said, if you don't go into rehab and get yourself straightened, we're going to kick you to the curb in some ways. And he said, I'm not going to do that. So he took more drugs maybe, and now that he's in prison, he's probably off drugs right now because he's in a small cell by himself because no one's going to give him drugs, so he's going to think a lot hard. I don't think he's remorsed at all about killing his parents. I don't think he feels sorry for him. He'll feel sorry for him like he's the victim, and he'll say, I'm a victim in this piece. No one loved me or not. They loved you too much. A lot of people don't like to say he was an enabler, but I've known people who have been enablers, and if you're with that, they can be. He was very domestic violence. That's what I'm thinking. He was very domestic violence. I'm gonna do a video about how I think he was totally evil and stuff in my next video about Nick Reiner. How I think he was totally evil and bad seed. So into my next video, take care and bye.